wrestling fans of all ages, shapes, sizes, genders, and everything in between. It is time to go to war and be VicTori for the Common Wrestling Podcast. Welcome to the revolution.
Buzz guys, my name is Kate Murphy.
What's going on, everybody? This is Will Tarashuk, the founder of the Kings of the Rings podcast.
What's going on, guys? It is I, the one and only Quiet Riot himself, Zach, your host of the Young Lions Perspective.
What's up, guys? This is the Monday Night Delight.
Greetings, one and all. This is your Prime Minister speaking, your favorite Canadian, Mr. Fretz.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is NateFNGreat from the Game Changer podcast.
If you're looking for a network that keeps wrestling real, then you've come to the right place because
you're listening to...
You are listening to...
You are listening to...
You are listening...
Then you are listening.
Get ready for a war because you're listening to...
What is going on, everybody? This is King Ricky Rose, your general manager, and you are listening to Wrestle Addict Radio. Now enjoy the show.
Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to change the landscape of podcasting as you know it in professional wrestling. This is the Game Changer Podcast. Featuring the greatest asset to come out of Canada, the legendary Mr. Fretz.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
I love myself. There's something so condescending to the champ to get out of my ring.
They think they got the answers. I change the questions. I did it all by my sweet little self. Two-time Slammy Award winner. I knew it. I'm a winner. I did it. Wow.
As well as featuring yours truly, the Game Changer, Nate the Effin' Great.
I've had it. It's time for you to start listening to somebody else, and that somebody else is going to be me, and it's going to be right now. The dirty secret is you need this generation more than it needs you. You're not going to come out here and talk about how it should have been you, it should have been me, it should have been you, it should have been you, it should have been you, it should have been you 8 years ago, and it was kind of, then it wasn't, and it's not going to be again, and it's not going to happen. Just get over it.
I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even in commentary. Nobody can touch me.
We change the game one day at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready, let's do this.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Please welcome Mr. Fretz.
10.
Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 5 years as a podcaster, Nate the Effin' Great!
Okay, so other than that little hiccup, honestly, I thought that was pretty good for a starting deal. I mean, we got our introductions by the one and only Lillian Garcia and Mike Rome. Shout out to those two because they're absolutely awesome. Welcome to this edition of the Game Changer Podcast, the Monday NyQuil edition, where the big boys play with each other, and so many great matches that are going to be coming up here. We got Gerald Briscoe versus Pat Patterson on a Viagra on a pole match. The main event being a Texas Walker match, meaning they're going to be beating each other so bad with their walkers, it's going to be insane. It's going to be the Huckster, the Nacho Man, and Skin Gene battling against each other, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm done. Welcome to this edition, ladies and gentlemen. I am Nate the NateFNGreat, joined here by probably the emotionally scarred, everybody's favorite friendly hood neighborhood Canadian, Mr. Fretz.
Okay, that's finally the NyQuil wearing off. Hi, Mr. Fretz here, and what intro could go with a bit of that, a little bit of Coors here, and a little bit of Dominion going on in front of me on mute. That's a heck of a week. I'm tired. How are you, buddy?
Honestly, it's been a crazy week here, too. I mean, it's only going to get even more crazy because tomorrow I got the wedding rehearsal for my friend's wedding, and then the wedding is on Saturday. Thankfully, I went in and got my tuxedo picked up, and everything fits, so that's good. I did mention that the pants were a little bit snug in certain areas, but I said, you know what, I'm not going to be doing like crazy dance moves, so it's fine. They were like, "Oh, are you sure?" No, it's cool. I'm not gonna bust a rhyme or do like the electric slide or something like that. That'd be a good way to end the night, though. But
how many people can they have, Nate? What's your maximum occupancy for this thing? There's going to be just a few people, or how is this going to work?
Dude, I didn't even think about that. Honestly, I think that you'll know as soon as I know, as soon as I probably post something up. You'll be the first one to know. I will tell you that right now because honestly, I just don't know. I know that they're still probably going to be having the whole, well, only certain people can get into this gathering and blah blah blah. You know, I just don't know. We're in the time where we could have fun, just being able to do crazy shit together. But unfortunately, with a certain disease going around, it's a little bit tougher to do. But we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to harp about the Backstreet Boys reunion. For those of you that watch Game Grumps, take a shot if you enjoyed that reference.
Yes.
I'll take it.
What did I just watch? Their Mario Party series. It's the Backstreet Boys reunion kind of
sucks right now. And actually, there was one point where Aaron actually did say what the real thing was, but they recorded it over with just Backstreet Boys reunion tour. So all you heard was like, "Shut your effing trap! You know what it's like to have a party during the Backstreet Boys reunion tour." Oh my gosh, I loved it. And guys, I can tell you this right now. I already told Fretz we're going to be adding some new content to this show. Some of it might be cringeworthy, some of it's going to be funny. We'll just let you guys be the judge after listening to it. But, like I mentioned before, we're talking about Monday Nitro, actually. WCW's patriarch, thus this beautiful bit of a disaster. I only say that because of 2001 time. But, we'll get into talking about that a little bit later on during the show. But honestly, Nitro came about because of a meeting with Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner. Basically, Eric Bischoff was talking about a lot of these things that were going on with the business, and then Ted Turner was like, Eric, what do we got to do to compete with WWE? And Bischoff was like, give me prime time. And how they said was that Ted looked at Eric, he looked at Scott, he looked at Eric, and he's just like, Scott, give Eric Bischoff 2 hours on Monday nights on TNT. It's like, oh, well, that happened. And their premiere episode was at the Mall of America. Of all places, Mall of America. That's pretty intense to have a premiere episode.
Yeah, it's a weird place. And are you aware of the existence of Pastamania, Nate?
Pastamania?
Yeah, so I think it was just at this particular mall. That's in Minneapolis. There was a kiosk there, like a little food court kiosk that was inspired by Hulk Hogan. I'm just going to Google it here while I'm vamping, but it was, as it says, a pasta place, a la Hulk Hogan. Past him, okay, no, this is no, I'm not looking for the fast food restaurant chain in Singapore.
That's funny.
But anyways, to plug Nitro, Hulk Hogan opened this Pasta Mania place. Okay, here it is. Grand opening Pasta Mania, quick serve pasta restaurant. And that was free delivery anywhere in the mall. How big is this place? It has to do free delivery. But yeah, it ended up in a mall, and we had a special guest turn up for the Nitro. Who was that?
My good sir, Mr. Fretz, would that be the Hulk Hogan knockoff Lex Luger?
Yes, that would be Superman's villain, Lex Luthor.
That's awesome.
I believe it was during either the opening match or the main event. There was a U.S. title match between Ric Flair and Sting, which I've actually watched. Not a bad match. And you just see Lex Luger just saunter up to the ring. He had just left the WWE. He appeared on Raw like the week or two before this as part of... No, he was not part of the Allied Powers because the British Bulldog turned heel. And Lex Luger I'm trying to figure out if he appeared at SummerSlam. I can't remember. I think he did. But he was on his way out and he appeared on... Hey, get the camera off that guy. He doesn't work here. And trying to play it off. And you're going to be like, hey, this is where the big boys play, huh? Well, how about one of your former world champions in Lex Luger?
It is crazy. I'm actually just looking at the the results for this for this first episode of Monday Nitro. So we had a dark match between the American males, Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Scotty Riggs, defeating Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater with Colonel Robert Parker. Oh man, this is already turning into an amazing show. We had Flying Brian defeating Fusion Thunder Liger. Mad props to the future WWE Hall of Famer.
Get in.
Yep, we had Sting defeating Ric Flair by disqualification to retain the WCW United States Championship, which is where Lex Luger made his grand appearance. And then, oh dear Lord, this is going to be one of the most interesting main events of all time. Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart defeating Big Bubba Rogers to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Huh, that sounds kind of familiar. Didn't they have a match somewhere a few years before, possibly for another title? Yeah, WCW, this was WWF Redux, because you had Hogan versus the Shark around this time, and the Shark is, of course, Earthquake, and you reminded me of the existence of American males. Scott Cavaliero, this one's for you.
Oh my god, no. Get this shit off. No, turn it off. Oh my god.
Scott, if you heard this, I'm going to send this one to you. Greatest tag team in WCW history, said no one ever except Scott Cavaliero. Yeah. But WCW, I think, around the time Hogan came in, is also the time that they kind of turned a bit of a tide here. They got Prime Time, they got Hogan, they got Macho Man came in a year previous to this. So they had all the chips in their favor, but they were kind of booking what already worked in WWE, which I'll give them credit for. But you gotta, maybe, not recycle these whole things, right?
I mean, by the time they got closer to, Hogan's, quote-unquote epic rematch with Ultimate Warrior, where he had that moment where he's just talking through a headlight. He's going, "This is not the Ultimate Warrior, brother. It's just, oh my gosh, this is the Renegade. It's like, okay. This also shout out to Brian Zane for bringing that up because that was interesting. But yeah, it just comes a point where you recycle so much of what was very popular that people are going to be like, well, gee, I wonder what's going to happen next. Oh, this is going to happen. Yeah, we've seen this before. We want something different. We want something new. Which also does kind of key into one of the turning points of Nitro as well as for WCW. We mentioned this actually a couple weeks prior. We talked about this faction, the formation of the NWO. Scott Hall, he came to WCW Nitro to basically invade, and he's basically saying, you know why I'm here. No, it's like, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. And then later we had Kevin Nash come involved, and they're saying, like, hey, we got a third guy. We're going to whoop everybody's ass. Who would that be? It's Stick. Nope, it's going to be Hulk Hogan. What? No, he's a babyface. He's a baby. Hogan just leg dropped Macho Man. You son of a bitch. How dare you? And of course, we got the transition from Hulk Hogan, the real American, to Hollywood Hulk Hogan, one of the biggest pricks in all of wrestling. I mean, you just see how he gets so confident in all of his promos. It's literally one of those things where it's like, I want to punch this dude in the face. It's like, that's good, because that's the reaction that they were going for. They wanted you to hate Hulk Hogan and the Outsiders as the NWO. Of course, we talked in deep depth about NWO and all the ups and downs that they've had, so definitely check out the previous episode that we did for that. But yeah, Hulk Hogan and the NWO was another turning point for WCW Nitro, because everybody was seeing this hostile takeover by these men, and then eventually people joined, and the NWO got bigger, and then the fans are just like, oh, yay, these guys are awesome, these are like the anti-heroes, and blah blah blah, that kind of deal.
Yeah, it was great at first. Like, everyone and their mom joined the NWO and wanted to join the NWO. I mean, you started off with just Hogan, Hall, and Nash, and then Ted DiBiase, somebody else, and then Six, a.k.a. X-Pac. And yes, the reason why they called him Six was because he was the sixth member of the group. Eventually, though...
Nice pun.
It was a very good pun game by Bischoff or whoever named him there.
I thought he was called Six because he had 6 moves. Ha-ha!
Yeah, don't you dare besmirch X-Pac like that, bro. Waltman's better than that. I mean, that's not... He's not... This isn't... John Cena didn't join the NWO.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying...
Wait, yes he did, or did he?
I wasn't trying to say, like, he only has 6 moves. I was trying to be like sick move, but obviously that was just bad wordplay on my part.
Well, there was a wrestler in the flock called Sick Boy, so maybe you got confused.
Oh, that's right. Wasn't he the guy that walked around with like a giant bag of ice on his head? He had a blanket on, had like a thermometer always coming out of his mouth.
Oh, that's why he was called Sick Boy. And I was trying to think, did he have an eye patch? No, that's when Scotty Riggs from the American Males joined the flock. Yeah, the flock had some. He had Lodi, who was just basically Sign Guy Dudley.
Lodi,
that's you had. I can't remember if Lenny Lane joined it, but Lenny Lane and Lodi were a tag team in WCW. And how do I put this delicately? In one word, homophobia.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't want to cover that. I mean, I'm wearing a rainbow shirt today, so I want to speak as an ally to the community. This is the Queen Bee's Pride Month shirt. Finally came in the mail today, so shout out to Kate Murphy.
Yeah,
for that one.
I was gonna say we're definitely gonna have to take like a snapshot photo for that because you're representing that. I'm wearing my Raging Dead Nathan Gus shirt. I definitely do want to talk a little bit about the ACW show, but I'll do that later on when we're done talking about Nitro. I think another factor with WCW Nitro was the fact that they did have some different TV to it. Because WWF, they still were kind of hate on the fact that we have these characters and we're just kind of doing these like weird random storylines. And, some people are slowly starting to pick up steam, like Undertaker, Austin, Shawn Michaels was slowly starting to kind of reach that peak to the point where he kind of overjumped just a little bit. But also for WCW, they not only had NWO, but they also had a very strong undercard. So many great athletes in there. But one of the main attractions that they had that really helped them was the cruiserweight division. So many fast-paced guys, so many high-flying antics. You look at so many of those cruiserweights. Fusion Thunder Liger, we already talked about him. Ultimo Dragon, they also had Billy Kidman, Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrera. So many people that made that division just can't miss. And it's one of those things that, WCW did a great job. They had one brand in NWO, but they also tried to have another brand with WCW. It's like, okay, NWO is kind of taken over, but we also need to kind of have a little bit of mixture of something else involved with that. You throw in these guys that are literally just flying everywhere, that are literally just fast-paced, really entertaining the crowd. It does kind of create a different kind of environment that WWF fans are kind of like, well, we've seen this kind of stuff. Then they go, I think Eric Bischoff said it best, is that for WWF fans, they're kind of watching this, and then WCW just started making like this loud racket, and fans are just like, ooh, I like that. And they go over to WCW, and for the longest time, for 80 plus weeks, they were slaughtering WWE in ratings. It was insane.
Yeah, it was, and things like the cruiserweights and the NWO were a giant factor in it. I just wrote down a bunch of matches. I kind of go sequentially through everything here. Oh, hi, there's a recording call going on there. Excuse me for a second. So I wrote down some really, really good cruiserweight matches that I'm just going to say you have to go and seek out for yourself on the network. And I can't tell you where. I didn't do any timestamps or anything here. I just wrote stuff down as I remembered. I didn't get Nitro in Canada until about maybe 98, 99, somewhere in there. TSN used to air Nitro replays Wednesday afternoons. So as soon as I get home from school, hey, there's Nitro, so I could watch this. So I'll start off with Eddie versus Chavo in a hair versus hair match.
Oh, I remember that match.
I think it's from about 98. And Chavo was kind of going a little bit loco and having remember his friggin' horse on a stick called Pepe?
Oh my gosh, that was great. I also remember the fact that Chavo had two matches at Bash at the Beach. He had a matchup against Stevie Ray where he lost to the most devastating handshake of all time, which was amazing.
I almost spit my beer. Ray versus Eddie. Pick Eddie, but Halloween Havoc, 97.
I think 97, yeah.
Whichever one it was, where Ray had that big, head-to-toe purple question mark Riddler Joker outfit, and when he did that damn backflip DDT, which I want in the next wrestling games. It was in SmackDown versus Raw 2009. I made it my finisher, and I haven't seen it since.
Yeah, it's honestly one of those things where WWE needs to pick up their slack when it comes to wrestling games, and if you think that I'm making this shit up, check out their most recent game that they are coming out with. Yikes.
Man, it makes WWE 2K20 look like Fire Pro Wrestling. By the way, if you have a PS4, get Fire Pro Wrestling, get all the DLC. It's amazing. I have Liger. I wrote down Liger and Pillman in here. I think Liger probably had a match with Rey Mysterio, which I will change my pants here. Ultimo Drake. And I'll give you something here. I'll give you a sneak preview because I won't be covering Dominion in depth. I suggest listening to the Young Lions perspective for that. But I was watching a little bit of Dominion earlier. I had to turn it off because my bandwidth was getting all wacky. Now I have hockey replays. Ultimo Dragon versus someone who wrestled at Dominion this week. Yuji Nagata.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah. Yuji Nagata is still wrestling. I mean, Dick Togo from Kaientai turned up at this show.
Did he have that music from WWF? That dun 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 dun.
He did not come out to the Kaientai Indeed theme.
Oh.
Sadly, I had here the entire feud of Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko, and yes. This is where the list comes into play. I have Dean Malenko. You call yourself the man of 1,000 holds. I am the man of 1,004 holds, and they are as follows. And he was also really slagging off Dean's father, Boris, I think, who died during this feud. Oh. So he was really good for us.
Wow.
I am gonna verify this when he actually died. But
this was also the dawning of conspiracy theory Jericho, when he lost his title, and he's basically just going to Washington. He's in the hall of laws, there's got to be a law about battle royals and like that, and he's just talking to people like Dean Malenko was not in the match. He had a mask on, just doing all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh my God, this is where Jericho was just slowly flourishing into one of the best stars ever. And then he had a feud with Goldberg, which went nowhere. And I slightly blame Goldberg for that, because he went fishing when they were supposed to have a pay-per-view match, I think it was. So, damn it. I read that book. It's great. Fretz just showed me the Lion's Tail book and Undisputed. He's basically rubbing in the face that he's got one more Jericho book than I do.
I'm almost done Lion's Tail, and it's a fantastic read. Sadly, it only goes to his final days in WCW, and I'm just there. But if I can go get a little bit more cruiserweight action going on here and recommend some more. Well, for one thing, when Dean Malenko returned, Boris Malenko died in '94, so he'd been dead for years at the point Chris Jericho was slagging him off.
Okay.
So there is this number one contender gauntlet or battle royal or something, and there is a luchador in WCW called Seco Play. Kind of a Cyclops.
Oh, okay.
And Seco Play won, unmasks, and of course it's Dean Malenko in the makeup and the mask, and that kicked more of their feud off. But Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio had some stuff, and although late area WCW is terrible, and Nance, I know you're living proof of it because you reviewed most of it. I don't blame you for skipping the last few months. Long Live the Gifted podcast, but you had a trios feud in 2000 involved these two groups named Three Count, a boy band gimmick right in the middle of the boy band craze.
Right.
With Evan Courageous, Shane the Hurricane Helms, and Shannon Moore. Going up against the Young Dragons, a Japanese-inspired gimmick where I think only two of them were Japanese. Jamie Noble, yes, that Jamie Noble, in a mask. Kaz Hayashi, and Jimmy/Akio Wang Yang.
Wow.
Also of the Flying Elvises from TNA. Watch some of that. But they put on some of the best cruiserweight matches in 2000. I mean, you had Elix Skipper. I'm skippering ahead a little bit here, but Elix Skipper reigned as the 100 kilograms and under champion, a.k.a. the Canadian Cruiserweight champion. We don't use kilos up here. At least I don't think we do. At least my version of Canada doesn't go with that metric. But I'm skipping ahead to a Team Canada thing, which I'll talk about a lot later here. But
gee, I wonder why.
You had all these amazing things on the undercard, but it was only subjected to the undercard and WCW Saturday Night. So you had, let's just say that the pay difference between a guy like Rey Mysterio and a guy like Kevin Nash was thousands of dollars. Who are here to see WCW? Oh, are you here to see the NWA? Oh, survey says one more for the bad guys. Yeah, everyone was there for the NWO, even me, but I was in there for the cruiserweights, the undercard, and they had a strong TV/US title picture with guys like William Regal, Name Redacted, Ric Flair, the rest of the Horsemen except Steve Mongo McMichael. Like Jeff Jarrett was in and out of WCW for a while, so you had a strong undercard. This was the resurgence of guys like Booker T. Sting was in there helping put over that division. Bret Hart made his way over there at some point, which we'll actually get to a bit later. But you had a strong undercard and a really strong main event card, and WCW was a great place to watch. Loved it.
It was, and one of the things that made it better was the fact that it was live, which Eric Bischoff definitely used that to his advantage. One of the things that he mentions in the documentary is the fact that he says, okay, so we're live and WWF is taped. People don't know about what our show's going to be like, but we could tell them what they are going to be seeing on the competition's deal. And they did so much that they actually had a point where they would actually get onto TV before Nitro even happened and before Raw even happened, where they said
7:57.
They just decided, hey, we're going to tell you guys the results of WWF because we want to be heads up on the competition. And that was another reason why people were really kind of being like, okay, well, this is going to nothing really too crazy here. There might be a match or two where people are just kind of like, I'll at least watch that. But a lot of matches that they probably had going on during that time was like, nothing really too interesting. Let's see what Nitro has. Let's see what Nitro has. For the longest time, like I said, about 80 plus weeks of being the top wrestling show for a long time. And the only reason why it was broken was because of the fact that WWE realized, okay, we need to do something different. And how did they do that? They brought in Austin McMahon. And from there, it was kind of one of those things where we started seeing the back and forth deal between WWF and WCW trading blows. Some crucial points where we saw WCW wins was the reformation of the Four Horsemen, where they had guys like Dean Malenko, Arn Anderson, I have to mention his name, Chris Benoit. They had all these people coming in here paying their homage, and it was also the return of Ric Flair, who was so passionate about WCW. He was Mr. WCW. A lot of people might say, I think more of like Sting or Hogan or something like that. It's like, no, Ric Flair was the guy who literally took WCW and just carried it on his back every single day, 24/7, 365. He was Mr. WCW. And there was no more proof of that than his promo that he cut with the reformation of the Four Horsemen. And also it showed the disdain that Flair had for Eric Bischoff, because I still remember where he basically is just telling, you suck, I hate your guts, you are a liar, you're a cheat, you're a scab, you are a no good son of a bitch. The only way Ric Flair can say it. And I also love the iconic line of, fire me, I'm already fired, fire me, I'm already fired. Just one of those things where it's like, Ric Flair can be just a gem in the world of wrestling. And this was one of those gems, I believe. Because he could be very passionate about whatever promo that he wants, and then he can just be a spitfire cannon.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest night. Oh, wrong, Ric Flair promo. Did you see the NWO parody of this same promo weeks after the fact?
I did not, actually.
So you had DX versus the Nation, except with no blackface. But it was members of the... Yeah. Look that up now, folks. I know. It's a little... Jason Sensation dressed as Owen Hart is the only what's the right for 2020? It was never right, but anyways. Moving on from that awkward one, the NWO dressed up as members of the Horsemen. I think like Nash was Flair and Six Pack was like Arn Anderson, and like they were like making themselves cry, like probably having like the like the fake Hogan tears that Hogan put on himself when Andre challenged him to the match and ripped off the cross.
Yeah.
Or they made or because the spotlights, like this friggin' ceiling fan in front of me, the spotlights in the wrestling ring are hot as balls. So you're in there and that's why we were looking at like a 94 match and IRS just sweat like that. That's me. That's me the second I step foot outside is I'm just, time to change my shirt, just like that. But yeah, they dressed as that and they were like mocking the crying and mocking the, I love you so much. And just doing that whole parody thing, and they did it to a T. I thought it was funny because, of course, as I said, I was an NWO guy. I didn't really appreciate the Horsemen until like after WCW like left, or until they had. Well, I'll say, and I've said it before. Like Benoit was one of my favorite wrestlers up until his end, and that started in WCW when he started having that feud with Kevin Sullivan, and then when he was in the Horsemen, and then like his tag team championship run with who was he a tag team champion with in WCW? Perry Saturn, I think. He had a championship run with Saturn, and he was always in the US and TV title picture. Like one of the matches I just wrote down here for recommends, I'm just going to say it now, was in 1999, Bret Hart versus Chris Benoit in the Owen Hart tribute match that took place in the Kemper Arena, the same arena where Owen tragically died, and they're like bawling their eyes out, like wrestling this match, and they just had it. They did it for Owen, but it was kind of eerie that it was in Kansas City. But that was like what made it special. So, one of the many times I think the NWO kind of took the piss out of people on the card. I swear they probably like would have dressed up like J.J. Dillon or made fun of him. J.J. Dillon, which ironically he's one of the founding members of the Horsemen, was WCW's like commissioner, if you will. However, with creative control and Eric Bischoff was kind of the guy that would always twist the knife just a little bit, be like, aha, kind of like Vince McMahon and HBK. HBK at WrestleMania one year was like, hey, there's only one man who can appoint a special guest referee at WrestleMania, and that man is not you, it's the Heartbreak Kid. And Bischoff was kind of like that to Dillon in a way.
It's not. Although I think that if anybody could do it even better and more douchey, it would be Eric Bischoff. But one of the other points you mentioned is the fact that WCW definitely tried to bring a lot of the talent from WWF, especially ones that were very disgruntled, over to their company. And they even plucked people from ECW at the time. Some people might say, like, well, ECW wasn't really that impactful. It's like, I disagree. I think ECW, on all honesty, if we could compare, Raw would have been Raw, WCW would have been like SmackDown, and ECW would have been NXT, what it is today. Because it was all three different kinds of deals, but also a little bit similar, but at the same time, they also did offer a different kind of content that people were very interested in seeing. But again, WCW had a very bad habit of just picking up guys that they had done their run in WWE. Now they're getting a fresh run in WCW. They had, we mentioned before, they had Hogan, they had Savage, they brought in Piper, they brought in Brett, and some of these guys, they were really, breaking banks and everything like that. They were making this deal, and there was an argument that, no true stars were really made. Although some people can the claim that there was actually one guy that was a made star during that deal. Well, actually, there was probably like three that I would definitely mention. Mr. Fretz definitely gave me the gesture of one of them, that being Diamond Dallas Page. I will definitely agree with that. The other one is the resurgence of Sting, because he was always kind of like the surfer boy. He was just kind of very colorful, and then we got the Crow Sting, where he just came out in black and white, and his face paint was very reminiscent of the movie The Crow. Very great. The third one, of course, being Goldberg. This was a guy who literally we talked about last week, where he was a guy who just came out, beat up people, and then left. And that was all he really needed to be. But then once they lost that, unfortunately, that shine on him, it ended up being a situation where it was kind of defaulting to what was working in the first place, that being the older guys, and that being, unfortunately, the NWO. So that was where we started seeing the wheels slowly coming off for the momentum of WCW.
Yeah, that was about the last time I think they even had a shot was when they could have done something good and they didn't. And that was just simply finger poke right there. As I said before, the same night Mick Foley wins the WWE title and Schiavone gives it away, you idiot! They pulled this crap, and then that's when people, okay, like Peter Griffin in the movie theater. Done! That's it. Although Nitro, I think, had a couple of good moments after that. I'll get to this one later. But I really didn't write a lot of stuff down just for this. Like, I actually just remembered, this is going to when they were still, good. Medusa throwing the belt in a bin live on TV, the WWE Women's title. And she does the same thing with a 24/7 title last year. Because why not? All the beatdown, but the thing is, when the NWO was hot, and all these beatdowns, like, they felt real, especially that one I just watched, was it like the Best of Nitro on the network, and you had the NWO backstage, like, lawn darting Rey Mysterio into a production truck, beating the piss out of everybody, and just going to town on it. And Hogan, of course, doing the whole, as far as I'm concerned, the Hulkamaniacs of the world can stick it, brother. And you had a heck of a run from there. but Hogan, still in WCW, the whole thing we hear on Bruce Pritchard's podcast, Hogan must pose, pal. We still saw a little bit of that in WCW, because at the end of almost every show until about mid-97, the NWO stood tall. But that was because they were built to be this strong, unstoppable force. Enter Sting. Sting was I think he was injured in 96, and then he just sat out, or they were slow burning. And by slow burning, I mean slow cooker on one setting for Sting versus Hogan. The same way I think unpopular opinion, they should have done Goldberg Hogan. They should have waited that one out until Starrcade 98. It'd be hard, but I think it would have been the best thing to do. They stood tall, and then all of a sudden the lights would go out. You just see the spotlight in the distance. Sting, pointing there with the bat. Like, you're next, Hogan. And they managed to kind of screw that up, too. Because, I don't want to review Starrcade 97, but I kind of want to watch it again just for morbid curiosity. Because I've heard enough podcasts covering it. I used to have it on VHS, but I think I lobbed it out years and years ago. If we get into some best matches, I have a list ready to roll here for best matches for Nitro and some more moments. But these are moments that are towards the end that are still good, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we definitely still have that momentum building up with Nitro until one fateful day where unfortunately Eric Bischoff gets sent home. Basically, they see that the ratings are kind of lowering and that Raw is kicking their asses. So basically, they're saying, well, I think the main problem is going to be Eric Bischoff. We need to bring somebody else into the fray that might benefit into this deal. And who do they bring in for this deal? Oh my goodness, it's the heart attack of one James E. Cornette, as well as the one reason that he's going to keep living, as he's mentioned before, to piss on his grave before he dies. The one and only Vince Russo. These were tough times in WCW, because in WWF, when he was in creative, he at least had somebody telling him, you know, this is not a good idea. We're not really going to do this way. It's not going to work out that well. But here in WCW, he's the head honcho guy. He's going to be the one that's basically saying, well, my ideas are going to go through. And so many people were probably thinking, like, oh, this could actually be good. Some of the WWF's success is going to come here. Unfortunately, what do we get mostly? We got a lot of stuff on pole matches, including Pinata one. A Buff Bagwell on a pole match. Buff Bagwell's mom on a pole match. The fucking... Oh, boy. The Ed Ferrara, Jim Ross deal. Well, actually, he was called Oklahoma, which... Oh, boy, that was rough. I think Bash at the Beach... Was it 99, 2000? The one of the tougher events to get through, because as Vince Russo has said, he said, we had a plan, bro. We're basically going to have this happen, bro, and then what's going to happen, bro, is that we're going to have Booker T win this, bro, and it's going to be really awesome, bro. Did that end up happening? No, because Vince decided to go off script, and he pissed off Hogan, which was not the best idea, because he basically walks away with your biggest accomplishment in WCW, that being the WCW Heavyweight Championship. And yeah, from there it just did not get any better. Even if they tried to bring Eric Bischoff back, this thing was just slowly just melting before our very eyes.
It was, and before we go any further, I think anyone who is a longtime wrestling fan knows that shitty TV did not kill WCW. It was the Turner AOL merger, and Turner was like, you know what, I don't want wrestling anymore. Don't look at it in 2020 eyes because of obviously elite reasons, but the bloom was definitely off the rose by this point, but I do have a couple of moments from late Nitro, at least that I really, really liked. We had one, it was a confrontation between Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg on a Nitro in Toronto, I think in about March or April of 2000. You had Goldberg speared Bret Hart in the ring, and then both guys were down for seemingly like an eternity. I'm like, okay, what happened here? Why are they both hurt? Goldberg speared a guy, and then Bret, who's wearing a Maple Leafs jersey, a tight-only Maple Leafs jersey, by the way, one of my favorite players of all time, he slowly kind of gets out from under Goldberg. He gets up, takes off the jersey to reveal like a chest plate of a suit of armor. And that was one of the last big good moments in WCW. However, I have to add another one, and it's just a storyline that I enjoyed for Canadian reasons. And you're going to hear, yes, it is Team Canada in WCW, despite the fact there was only 2 actual Canadians in the group. And those being Lance Storm and PCO. Yeah, look it up. PCO was on Team Canada in WCW. Who'd have thunk it? So, I think it was New Blood Rising, which replaced Hog Wild in August of 2000, which I'm going to get into in the 20 Bell Salute next month. Cheap plug. It took place in Vancouver, BC, Canada. and Lance Storm won the United States title. And then after the fact, I think either at that show, he beat somebody who was the he collected belts. He started off with the Canadian U.S. Championship, and then he won the Cruiserweight Championship, which he rechristened the 100 kilograms and under championship. We use pounds here in Canada. I weigh a certain amount of pounds. I'm not going to tell you how fat I am, but which was funny. And then he gifted that title to Elix Skipper. Yes, primetime Elix Skipper in WCW. And then he wins the Hardcore Championship, which he christens the Saskatchewan International Hardcore Championship. That almost spells a certain word. And then, of course, Lance Storm with a big Canadian flag on the U.S. title. He had Hacksaw Jim Duggan join Team Canada, the biggest American patriot outside of Hogan, which even I didn't like that. And I am a proud, patriotic Canadian. I am the Jim Duggan of Canada, if you will. And they gave him a haircut. I hated it. I love Jim Duggan. This isn't you, dude. You're being brainwashed, or I think he was forced to join Team Canada. Major Guns from the Misfits in Action. Don't actually Google what she does now. I'll tell you off air, Nate. You can probably tell. She was forced to join the group. So you had... I appreciate it because I like how we always had Oh Canada playing. It was even his theme song. Precursor to TNA. Shout out to Slammiversary this weekend. I'm kind of excited. But you had PCO, who was in the group for a cup of coffee, and Mike Awesome. They're Team Canada. Okay, now Team Canada on the final Nitro is Mike Awesome and Lance Storm. But Mike Awesome's American. They're Team Canada. But Mike Awesome's American. They're Team Canada, bro. I thoroughly enjoyed it just for those reasons. The same reasons I enjoyed TNA's Team Canada. And I want that TNAEH shirt. If anyone has that, let me know, bro.
Oh, man. Love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, man. So, we're going to go into our final thoughts on WCW because we definitely did discuss the final Nitro as well as the merger between Raw and Nitro a little while back. We definitely talked about that. But Nitro itself was definitely one of those companies that folded under its own success because the fact that there was so much that they could have done more. There were so many other things that they could have done to really just capitalize off the momentum. If they did not focus so heavily on NWO and maybe, took a little bit more care of their stars, honestly, Chris Jericho could have been a WCW heavyweight champion in their company's history. Not under the WWF brand, but under the WCW brand. So many other people could have definitely done a lot more. Honestly, given a little more time, a young Rey Mysterio maybe competing against somebody like, a Kevin Nash or even a Sting. Oh my gosh, Rey Mysterio versus Sting in those times. That would have been great. Just seeing all these things just take place. But unfortunately, like I said, it got to a point where they were so high up on a pedestal that the only place to go was unfortunately down. And whether that was booking, whether that was the merger between AOL and Ted Turner Broadcasting, it was one of those things where the writing was soon on the wall. Around the time that they decided to bring in Vince Russo, but can't entirely blame everything on Russo because the fact is, who hired him in the first place? Well, whoever was running WCW at the time. And what ends up happening from there is kind of more on the person who hired Vince Russo's fault. So it's one of those things where, WCW was still just this huge empire, and for the longest time was the number two wrestling show. It was even arguably number one for a long time. But again, it got so high and it got so big that it got crushed by its own success, and then also became its own worst enemy.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I know the merger did all the heavy lifting for its end. It kind of sucked to see at the time, because I liked that there was always something different than WWE. I mean, at least for me, on TSN, Monday Night Raw was always live, so I never missed Raw. But when WCW aired the replays, I also almost never missed WCW. Although sometimes I would have to tape it, or they would have like a replay on Wednesday night. So it did the trick, and I went to the trouble here of consulting the internet and possibly mostly a bit of Cultaholic for some really good WCW matches that I think everyone here should seek out. And then this is from Nitro, like Nitro only, because if this was WCW itself, I could go back to, I was watching like Starcades from the 80s, and my God, they were stacked. They were pretty good. So, of course, we have the Hogan-Sting feud. I won't recommend their match from Starcade. I'll just recommend, if there's a compilation, you can, hey, look, go through this. Look through their feud. Hogan and Goldberg, which we actually covered that fairly recently from that Nitro. And that whole episode of Nitro, I actually do recommend, because it's got some pretty good action, including one Chris Jericho. We have Kidman versus Hoovy from 1998 in a Cruiserweight title match. Savage versus Flair in 1996. I believe that was for the WCW title. Ray versus Dean from... might have been Bash at the Beach, actually. I can't remember. It might have been Hog Wild, but sometime in 96. Ric Flair versus Eddie Guerrero for the U.S. title. Wow. Then I had the aforementioned Hart versus Benoit. And if you want something with the aforementioned Young Dragons versus 3 Count, they did have a ladder match at Starrcade 2000, which it's worth a shot. If you have, I think it was on like one of the ladder match DVDs that WWE made. And yes, it even had that, what's his name, that Eminem guy, Joey Mercury's, notes exploding. It had, all I remember was it had that on the DVDs. I'm like, I never saw this match because I was a big fan of London and Kendrick as tag champs, but they had that one's on there. And of course, what I talked about earlier with Bret Hart and Goldberg. Don't look at that one match, but the time that Bret Hart had the suit of armor under the jersey was amazing. We don't need to mention it, but born out of Nitro was Thunder. What are some moments on Thunder that we can think of? Arquette. Yes. Oh. That moment. I think, was it on Thunder? I think Arquette winning the title was actually on a Thunder. And that was a show that never had, title switches, ever.
Until that fateful night. Wasn't that also a show that we had that Chucky feuding with Rick Steiner or something like that?
That was Nitro.
Oh, okay.
Chucky appeared on the Titantron in. I remember it was like 90. It was around the same time Warrior came back, so it was in 98. It was also for Halloween Havoc. Who did Rick Steiner wrestle at Halloween? Scott. Or did he wrestle Scott? I can't remember, but I know Rick Steiner wrestled at Havoc. We reviewed this, and
I know we did. Yeah.
Why they were plugging? Was it Bride of Chucky? Why was an animatronic doll on? This is stupid. Yeah, but the WWE had Muppets. That was fucking awesome.
It was, and I mean. They made it funny, but I mean, for this, it was just oddly placed and just did not make any sense. In all honesty, it probably hurt Rick Steiner more than anything.
It probably hurt Chucky, too. Oh, because what has he had since Bride of Chucky? I can't remember because I haven't seen any of them.
Fair enough. I mean, the new Child's Play remake was nothing really to even enjoy, except for a couple kills, but that's about it. It was just...
They remade it?
Yep, and do you want to know who was voicing the Chucky doll?
Please tell me.
One Mark Skywalker Hamill.
Oh, Luke. Oh, Joker, why?
And I love Mark Hamill. I think he does some really good things with, as you mentioned, Joke and Luke Skywalker. This was one of those things where it's like, I don't see this on the top of his resume. I really don't. And to be fair, I can't really say it. I see him putting Larry the Robot from Time Squad over this Chucky remake.
Oh my God, that's a reference.
For those of you that caught that reference, give yourself a good pat on the back.
I haven't heard that in a while. Wow.
Mark Hamill and so many other people were definitely part of our childhood. But that's for another time. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking about some more wrestling because we damn well can. Deal with it, bros.
What's up, folks? This is Mr. Fretz from the Game Changer Podcast, here to tell you about my Patreon show, The 20 Bell Salute, where I go back 20 years ago each month in wrestling and pop culture. What movies were out, what video games we were playing, what music we were downloading on Napster, and what wrestling pay-per-views took place that month in WWE and what other promotions happen to still exist at this time. So join me in my Y2K compliant DeLorean as I go 20 years into the past on the Wrestle Addict Radio Patreon. Join us for only $5 a month.
I'm Wild. And I'm Randy Fitzsimmons, and this is the Game Changer Podcast. Pew, 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 pew.
Watch for the barrels as they hunt in the night. Coming from nowhere, they just appear for the fight. Oh, is that paralyzed? Your soul is terrified. Beware of the force of nature. It survives on animal behavior. For the taste leaves nothing to waste. Beware of the force of nature. Your world goes down.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. I really enjoyed the Wolves in TNA. They were a really cool tag team. They also put on like a hell of matches with the Hardy Boys and Dudley Boys. If you have not gotten a chance, check those out. They're gold. Welcome back to the Game Changer Podcast. I'm Nate. He's Fretz. So quite a bit for us to still talk about. I know that we have some New Japan stuff to talk about. I will also say that I did attend my first wrestling show since the pandemic. This past Sunday, it was an ACW show at Tanner's, and it was still a pretty solid show. We had Logan Lynch versus Adam Grace, which kicked off the show. It was absolutely phenomenal. They had a pool party death match with Wild and Randy taking on the team of...
What?
Yes, you heard me right. I will explain more in depth about this. Unless you've seen my videos and shit on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen, you will definitely want to experience that part being a pool party death match because it is something to behold. It was the Wild and Randy taking on Steve Sawyer. Well, I'm going to call him Steve. Don't call him Tom Sawyer. and King Kong Bundy Jr. being AKA Shane Hills. It's really funny because he has been getting a lot of comments about him actually looking like a mini King Kong Bundy, and he actually takes that as a high praise and high compliment. So shout out to Shane Hill. You're fucking amazing. Main event was a 3-way matchup between Nick Colucci, Salem Crane, and Joey Avalon for the Water City title. Absolutely great. I had like a bit of the finishing sequence recorded. It's up on my Instagram right now. Check it out at NateFNGreat. It's great. It's absolutely phenomenal. I will also tell you guys this, that I'm not going to even say asked, I have been told that I am going to be doing commentary for their next show in August. So it's one of those things that I literally told this to Wrestle Addict Radio, and I'll tell you guys basically, it was one of those things where I talked to Josh, and he basically is pointing at the things like, yeah, I'll be there, and basically it was a situation where it was like, oh, we're not asking you to do commentary, we're telling you at this point you're doing commentary. Which is hilarious. Yeah, like I said, there was like 6 people, including one of the owners, that definitely thought that I had a great performance on there. I literally did make a joke and crack at Josh and said, I see what you did there. And he just chuckled like, you're an idiot. Just because hey, Nate the effing great job. I couldn't help myself. It's kind of one of those puns that are just really great. Just like the bear joke is awesome. King Ricky, you're a liar. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest.
Okay.
What? Oh, you don't remember the King of the Ring episode where Kate and Ricky are talking about the bear joke?
It's going back a ways, but I'll need a refresher.
It's one of my favorites. It's literally Kate Murphy talking about the bear joke because it's absolutely great. And honestly, just ask Kate Murphy to tell you the bear joke. I can't do it justice. Only Kate Murphy can. But King Ricky says the bear joke is dumb, and Kate Murphy does take offense to that because Kate Murphy and I definitely do enjoy quite a bit of the bad jokes, so much so that I did try to do that on Facebook a couple times, where a certain somebody continues to basically heckle me for putting up those jokes. I wonder who that could possibly be. He could not be possibly in the Great White North.
Who, me?
I mean, it's either you, Slack, or Danny at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Unless someone else snuck across the border, because, well, you know.
the other Skywalker. Yeah, if she would have snuck across the border just to do that, that would be one of those things where it's like, wow, talk about commitment to Canada.
I know, and stay in America, please. As much as I would love to have some people visit, no, not right now.
But I will say one of the craziest bumps in that in the pool party death match was they put charcoal on a blanket and somebody was going to get slammed through it. Well, it turned out Steve Sawyer was going to be that person. He got slammed through onto that charcoal, and I looked at his back and it was like, oh, he had some black marks on there from the charcoal. Definitely could tell that there was going to be some bruises on there. That just, and I even made the comment, and this is going to be something I might just put up on Twitter just for everybody's enjoyment. Which is worst, landing on charcoal or landing on thumbtacks? You be the judge.
Charcoal, eh? Wait.
Damn it! I do remember that. I do remember that. Oh my god! I do remember that.
Listen, there's been a mistake. I sent you.
I was going for a blog compilation, but it's got too much dialogue. One of my friends, one of my coworkers, can do a spot on Hank Hill. Nice. And yes, when I was a kid, they called me Bobby Hill.
He's okay, Dad. Which is funny because anytime I hear, anytime I see local Dad,
I
don't know you. Oh my gosh, it's one of those things where I've reached a point now where anytime I see a wrestler here known as Local Dad, I always call him Local Dad. It's fucking hilarious. I'm sorry, it happens, but I'm weird. I don't care.
Up here in Canada, we have up here in Canada, we don't have a dad, we have a dad. Hey, Dad! Hey, Dad! Better not forget the fucking all-dressed chips. Letterkenny reference. Google, first off, Letterkenny, if you have Hulu, go watch it. The entire series, it's funny. But there's also a YouTube compilation called Letterkenny Problems, which the show is derived from. It's very... If you're from a farming town, well, namely from Southern Ontario, you'll get a lot of the jokes here if you're from Canada. But if you come from a small farming town that up your way, you will appreciate it. I'll just say that.
Oh, definitely. So, last week actually suggested some shows for each of us to watch. Mr. Fretz, you had me watch the remainder of Fully Loaded 2000. It was great. That was actually really absolutely phenomenal. I still am kind of on the side when it comes to like the outcome of like the main events, because I kind of see what they were doing, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where it feels like Foley was protecting his buddy Rock from losing the title. It just was one of those things where it's like, okay, this kind of happened, but it is what it is. Rikishi versus Val Venus was still, Jesus Louise, that match itself just made that entire show, and Jesus, I just more of that, please. Oh, just watch SmackDown where they literally kill each other. Oh, you're right, that was a thing. Oh my gosh, Triple H and Jericho, Last Man Standing, just oh my gosh. Fully Loaded 2000 was just a great show. That was just top to bottom amazing.
I apologize. I did not have the time to watch SummerSlam 04. I'm working loads, so
fair enough. So maybe we'll put this idea on hold for the time being.
Or we can just say if you have time. But I remember I've watched SummerSlam 94 a few times, so I do remember it. One of the things that I can just remember off the top of my head right now is a 6-man tag match between Billy Kidman and Paul London, who were the SmackDown Tag Champs, who upset the Dudley Boys, teaming with Rey Mysterio to go up against the Dudley Boys, including Spike. You had Edge coming back to his hometown in an Intercontinental Triple Threat with Batista and Randy Orton.
Jericho.
What? Jericho was in that match?
Yeah.
And it was Edge, Jericho, and... Wait, was Randy Orton not the champ anymore? No, he was in the main event. So it was Jericho, Batista, and Edge just getting booed to crap. Maybe mostly because they were tired of his shtick, or he was coming out to his original "You Think You Know Me" because the license with Rob Zombie expired, and they haven't called Ultra Bridge yet. But then the rest of 04, you had a really, really bad match between Taker and JBL. But you had a historic moment that I hated for years and years, and that was Randy Orton becoming the youngest WWE champion ever, defeating big gold champ Chris Benoit. And a really, really good match. Although I didn't, as I said, although I didn't watch it, I can bring up memories off the top of my head. I was watching a lot of other wrestling this week, including Dominion, and was that it? Yeah, because this weekend's Slammiversary, and I might not get to watch it live, but whatever.
Yeah, no fair. I honestly thought when you were talking about the most disappointing thing of the entire night was the point where Eugene lost his first matchup on pay-per-view against Triple H, but I mean, that's just me, though. That's just me. That's just one of my favorite guys of all time.
Or Divas Dodgeball.
Oh my gosh, Divas Dodgeball. One of the greatest concepts that Vince Russo never came up with.
I swear Vince Vaughn should have made an appearance there, because I think that was around the time Dodgeball, A True Underdog Story was coming out.
You know, you're right. That would actually make sense why they did that.
And it would also make sense because Hardcore Crash Holly's theme is in the movie. In a certain, I think it's like when the Girl Scouts were coming out to face them, but also that same thread of music was also used in pornographic films. Same thing with NWO.
Sadness. Yeah, so for we'll definitely put this on hold for right now, but so many other great events that we'll definitely have to be covering in the future because we are just that amazing. But yeah, you had quite a bit to talk about as far as New Japan. I'm kind of excited to talk about this too because, oh boy, this is juicy. This is juicy.
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't watched any New Japan in a while, I suggest you turn this off right now, go watch it, and then also go back and listen to Zach of the Young Lions Perspective podcast, who came back from vacation. Brother, glad you're doing well. Hope your vacation was fantastic, and it's great to have you back in the fold. Shout out to Zach. Big cheers with my White Claw out here to Zach, and so... The Super J Cup has been going on the past little while. I did manage to watch nights 1 and 2, which didn't take place in front of a crowd, and Dominion in Osaka-jo Hall took place in front of about 500 people. There was a bit of a capacity there. They did have fans there during the Super J Cup finals, which were between Evil from Los Ingobernables de Japan. Sorry if I butchered that. Against Naito, also of Los Ingobernables. Now, Naito is, of course, the Intercontinental and IWGP Heavyweight. Is that? Yeah, that's how you say it. Heavyweight champion. He won both the titles, of course, at Wrestle Kingdom this year. Took place across 2 nights. Wrestle Kingdom was top-notch shit. And, we also had, Jushin Thunder Liger's retirement was at this pay-per-view. So that one, Wrestle Kingdom. So your finals, as I said, your finals were Evil and Okada. Yeah, the title match was Evil and Naito, and I just spoiled it. Anyways, Okada. And when I saw Okada go to the finals, I'm just like, oh my god, here we go again. Okada's going to go to the top of New Japan again. Not that I don't like the guy. I kind of want to see someone else in the main event, and we did. Evil wins with Everything is Evil and STO. And he had this amazing historic moment, which I saw probably on my Instagram from I don't know who. So, Los Ingobernables have a salute. It's just kind of like a fist bump. Kind of up here, not kind of like a traditional fist bump, but you raise the fist here, kind of like the Nation, and the guy does it in front of him here. But then Evil did this. He put up the Bullet Club horns in the Los Ingobernables salute. Boom! Hits an STO. Everything is Evil. He turns his back on Los Ingobernables and Naito and Sonata. Evil and Sonata being one of the best heavyweight tag teams that New Japan has had in a long time. They had a hell of a run. They probably would have wrestled guys like the Bullet Club. Ironically, now Evil joining the Bullet Club. And then here we have the Dominion. I'm not going to go through the entire results here, but I'm just going to highlight a couple of matches here. We had Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi defending the Tag Team Championship against Tai Chi and Zack Sabre Jr. I'll just say that there are new champions here, Sabre Jr. and Tai Chi. Amazing tag team match. If you know how Zack Sabre Jr. works, very stiff British style, very submission heavy, strike heavy. They stretched out these guys, and I think that, former tag team partner of Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, would be proud. He had a really good, all the stalwarts were Ishii, Okada was in this match in a tag team match. But then you had the double title match with Tetsuya Naito defending against the Super J Cup champ, Evil. And, bro, this match is killer. They went about good 30, 40 minutes going all out, and then in an absolute shocker, just like that, Naito's run is over. Everything is Evil, and the newest member of the Bullet Club, with a familiar face, coming out to aid him. This fella comes out in a mask, and I think he distracted Naito, hits the STO, unmasks, and it's Dick Togo, like a retired Japanese wrestler. And if you know that name and he sounds familiar to you, well, go back to the 1998 to the Choppy the PP incident. Dick Togo was in Kaientai in the WWE, back before Kaientai was just Taka and Funaki. This was Sho Funaki, Dick Togo, Men's Teo, and Taka Michinoku. All Japan stalwarts. And Taka, who would be wrestling at All Japan, didn't at this show, was awesome. Like, seeing Dick Togo was an absolute shocker. This is a guy you should be looking at, like, old matches at, because he was amazing. So, yeah, New Japan had some great shockers. You're building up some new stars, like Naito and Evil is a title feud. I can see them switching the title back to Naito again and having them having like a good run, because it's awesome to see, because Evil was known as more of a tag team guy. Now, I'm not if you want to talk like hardcore New Japan, Zach's your guy. And maybe even people like Balor Club guy or like Zach. He's hardcore and very good, very in-depth review of it. I'm not going to go through the rest of the results or the rest of the Super J Cup. They're worth looking at by themselves. And not only did we have that, I mean, this week was Fight for the Fallen. We had another NXT, which both were pretty good. And we're getting spoiled again, because this weekend we have Slammiversary and the horror show and Extreme Rules. Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, that's this Sunday?
That is.
Oh my gosh, that just dawning on me right now. That, jeez Louise, I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. Now it's like, damn it, we gotta do predictions for that then too.
Well, I'm pulling up the card for Slammiversary,
all right,
so we can at least attempt that. Now, I've been watching and also moderating the chats in a lot of live streams featuring someone that you and I both know. That he used to be on Wrestle Addict Radio during the Ant days, and that's of course J-Bone from Smash This Podcast. Mm-hmm. So I was just tuning into one of his streams before I got in here. So shout out to J-Bone. He's been a really good brother. He's been plugging us. He's been plugging Game Changer. He's been plugging Fretzelmania. So it's really good to see. And he's another Wisconsin guy too. So what is it with me in Wisconsin?
I don't know, man.
We have here. So we can predict who the mystery of what?
I was going to say, before we get too deep into this, I definitely do want to preface this on people that I've done predictions for Slammiversary already. If you haven't gotten a chance to listen to the show with myself and Mr. Joshua Yega for the former Pro Wrestling Off Topic, definitely check that out. So here's what I'm going to do for this. I'm just going to quickly go through the predictions that we went through. The only thing that was an addition was that tag team matchup, the Rascals versus TBT. Unfortunately, now it's kind of one of those things where I'm just like, damn it. This is where we're going to see Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. They're going to come in. They're going to win. That's where I see that. I got Moose going over Dreamer. The North going over Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan. I still think that Anderson and Gallows are going to interfere after the matchup and set up the North versus the Club, which I'm okay with. Or they call themselves the Brotherhood, for all we know. The Gauntlet for the Gold, I have Susie winning that one. X Division title match, I have Willie Mack going over. I have Jordan Grace going over. And then the main event for the four-way title match for the world title, the second world title, because the true title is the TNA title, let's face it. I have EC3 returning and winning the title, which I'm okay with. So, Mr. Fretz, give us your predictions.
Well, not only can I predict, I'm almost going to predict, like, who else might show up, and I think we're going to see, like, Eric Young, maybe as Super Eric. EC3, I think, is almost set in stone, almost a guarantee. I think he is going to walk out as Impact World Champion at this event. But we could see, like, if we see Super Eric and ODB, I will laugh. If I see Eric in Team Canada, I will probably cry. And then, start waving a Canadian flag around Skype. As I said, I'm not going to watch this live. I'm probably going to have to find a completely legal way of watching it on Sunday night after work. But that's Extreme Rules. I don't know what I'm going to watch. I'm working late all the time anyway, so... Yeah, I have here EC3 coming in and winning the championship. I want to go with Dreamer, but, Will kind of said it on Kings of the Rings Best. Yeah, they actually talked about Impact. There's just something about seeing Tommy Dreamer get murdered. And I love Tommy. I mean, Tommy did a cameo for me on 20 Bell a few months ago. I love Tommy, but I think Moose is just going to spear him literally in half. Jordan Grace over Deonna Purrazzo. X Division Championship. I think Chris Bay is going to win it here. I'm not really familiar with him anyways. I'm just predicting a new champion just for shits. The North is going to retain, and yes, it is absolutely my Canadian bias showing. I love Ethan Page. Josh Alexander, I'm not familiar with. I watched Impact this week. Like, I saw the Rhino versus Hernandez backlot brawl, and I saw a women's match where Susie, I didn't know that Susie was Sue Young until J-Bone brought it up on a stream. And she hit the... what was Sue Young's finisher called?
I don't really remember the name, but I know it was like a Samoan driver of sorts.
Yeah, well, Susie pinned whoever it was. I think it was like Kaylee Ray with that. I think they call it shock treatment, something like that. But then Susie hit that move and then kind of started twitching a little bit. And I'm just like, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with her? And then the Smash This podcast, it's like, oh yeah, we're totally going to see Sue Young. And I piped up, like, and Rosemary's going to be in this match too, against Sue Young and a wide variety of other talented ladies. Jessica Havoc, Alicia Edwards, Kimberly. You know what? I'm probably going to go for Susie too, but I think she's going to like either come out as full on Sue Young or like kind of like snap and morph into that. And the Rascals, it's Bullet Club. I mean, it's the brothers.
Yeah, I think it is pretty obvious at that point. But let's talk briefly about No, it's not even Extreme Rules. It's been renamed the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. Wow, make me less invested in this event. Why don't you? We have the United States Championship match. Apollo Crews taking on MVP. I will say that the new United States Championship, not bad. I kind of dig it.
Love it. MVP. I'm picking him.
I think it's going to be Cruz. Are you ready for the smiling boy? Get it? Because he always smiles it. If any of you are not laughing, screw you. That's funny.
Turn heel.
I would kind of like to see Apollo Crews turn heel. That would be pretty amazing. We have the eye for an eye matchup. The match can only be won when one competitor extracts an eye from their opponent. Yeah, I don't see that happening. It's Rey Mysterio versus the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. This is one of those few times where it's like, you have two great guys, and Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio having a great matchup between these two. And I could care less about this stipulation. Just because I just don't care about it, and just because he deserves the win, I'm giving it to Rollins.
This is after listening to Kings of the Rings this morning. I want Pirate Seth Rollins.
Oh, you want him to be... Oh, damn.
I want Pirate Seth Rollins, which means we're going to get the return of Pirate Paul Burchill and get a great tag team. Yeah, Rey Mysterio is winning here. He's going to get his...
Oh, wow. I think, Mr. Fretz, I think your audio kind of got cut out because now I can't even hear you, man.
There it is.
There we go.
I had to burp, and I thought I actually did it on. I thought I pulled the wheel and burped into the mic, but I didn't. Thank God.
You just burped so loud that the audio just disrupted.
Yeah, as I said, I want Pirate Seth Rollins. I want Seth Rollins to have an eye patch, and then have a tooth versus an eye for an eye. And then if you're going to get into the next part of the Bible verse, a tooth for a tooth match versus Isaac Yankum at SummerSlam. Eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I'm going to look up the rest of this verse while I try to make a joke about it.
Jeez, he will continue to look more like a pirate if he does these kind of gimmick matches. He'll have an eye patch. He'll be missing a tooth. There's probably, I mean, let's face it, we're going to get close to having a Zach Gowen return. And it's going to be a leg for a leg matchup where he gets the back leg deal.
Peg leg on a pole.
Oh my gosh, that's so stupid. Oh my gosh. Rollins, you deserve so much better, even if you are a dick. Next up, we have the Wyatt Swamp fights. Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Not the Fiend Bray Wyatt, but Spooky Duck Dynasty Bray Wyatt. The original Bray Wyatt that everybody came to know and love, who just, in the words of Adam Blampied, you can just make up words with Bray Wyatt. You can just make up words. Braun's winning. I see Braun winning, and then we're going to see the Fiend and Strowman at SummerSlam.
Yeah, they're doing the three faces of Foley here with Bray Wyatt. But what about Husky? No.
Oh my God, Husky's the pig, and freaking Bray Wyatt are working out. He just goes back to being Husky. Just talks about his boots. I'll be like, kill me, just kill me. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see NXT Bray Wyatt.
No, cult leader Bray is going to go back to the swamp, and this only invokes the Fiend, and we get the Fiend getting its title back at SummerSlam. I'm like, fine, I'm okay with it, but no.
Bray should be treated more like an attraction at this point, because he is.
The Fiend should be treated more like an attraction, because you have his alter egos are. I respect the fact that they're prominently featured. That's awesome. And then when we're getting to a Big 5 pay-per-view, all of a sudden, okay, here's the Fiend. Like, if we had crowds, because SummerSlam's going to be at the Performance Center, and it looks like WrestleMania won't be in LA next year either, allegedly. So
I'm pissed about that. I'm so pissed.
That's a bummer. I was thinking about COVID be damned. I was actually thinking about going next year, but I am not leaving the country until there is a vaccine and until there is a new president and the border can actually be opened safely.
Fair enough. All right, so we got one half of the Karen and Boss connection. Bayley defending her. You're welcome. Defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Nikki Cross. I want NXT Nikki Cross, where she literally just goes crazy and just always begs the question, play with Nikki. Just, I want that so bad.
I'll play with you, Nikki.
She just...
And not that way.
I'm about to say, you'd have to deal with her husband, Killian Dane. Just remember that.
Yeah, he trimmed down. That guy is ripped.
I need to look that up now. Well, I'll look that up later on. But, Mr. Fretz, who have you got for this matchup?
Bayley's retaining. We're still getting the slow burn for Bayley and Sasha. Maybe there's, like, in either of the matches between the Boston Hugs, we're going to get some kind of failed or almost failed distraction spot. So, is there no pay-per-view before SummerSlam? Is this... Yeah, it's July. They're doing one a month now, thank God. They're not doing one like every other week. Yeah. Thank you, Brand Split. Brand Split my pants. We're having...
That is the greatest pun of this entire show. Brand Split my pants.
Hey, you can't see my lower half. You can't tell what's down there.
Never mind. No, I'm in agreement that Karen's going to retain. Bailey's going to retain. Sorry. That's, for those of you that don't know, that's the ring joke between me and a couple of people in the Kings of the Rings chat.
Alert, I guess I better, here, Investor, just, there you go. Okay, Karen, I got my mask on.
Nice.
Now's a good chance to take a snapshot because my hands are full.
Well, that is true. Up next, we do have the... God, I cannot believe that I can't do this guy's stuff. Oh, wait, no, I can. I'm just going to look like a weird dude that's looking over a hand or some shit. Whatever. Raw Women's Championship matchup. Asuka taking on Sasha Banks. This should be a good matchup. This is one of those things where it's like, okay, this is a matchup I'm kind of excited for. Because Asuka, Sasha, they can put on a hell of a matchup.
Oh, absolutely. And this was also a matchup that caused Asuka to go away for a little while.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if it was she was hurt or if she went to find her smile or something. Like some internet dicks were speculating. I guess they're trying to draw some comparisons, but I thought it was kind of funny. But Sasha's my favorite woman on the roster right now, so as much as I want to see her win it here, she is winning it from Bayley. There is going to be some dissension here, and I think it's going to lead to, on maybe as soon as Raw next week, we're going to see the Women's Tag Team Championship change hands, maybe to the Kabuki Warriors. I don't know what Kairi Sane's contract situation's like. If not, it'll be to someone like maybe Nikki and Alexa again, or please the Iconics, and do not break them up, or I swear, I was trying to do something threatening to my microphone, but that's $150. I'm not doing that.
No, let's not do that.
Yeah, let's just crush this beer can when it's over. But yeah, we're getting the slow burn because SummerSlam, but there's no crowds. Hey, if they're going to slow burn this for when there's crowds, because God knows when that's going to be, I'm fine. But this has been slow burn long enough and on and off long enough. You know, friggin' Dr. Shelby and last year Bayley just all of a sudden snapping. That should have been the premise right there. They could still be feuding today. But no. Asuka's retaining.
Yeah, they're dripping that cam down to the very last drop, and it sucks. Yeah, Asuka's retaining. You took the words right out of my mouth. Moving on. We have the main event, probably, which is going to be Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship in a matchup that is to be determined. In all honesty, I want to see it be like a cage match where we see Drew McIntyre just claymore Dolph Ziggler out of a cage side, but he still wins. So it's kind of one of those things like they did with not like Brock and Roman, where clearly Roman won, but they had some BS deal where it's like, no, Brock hit first. It's like, both feet had to hit the floor. Roman Reigns won. So shut up. No, Brock, what? No, Roman won. That would have been the one thing that probably would have saved that Saudi Arabia show. But you didn't do it. Also, stop doing stuff with Saudi Arabia. They have a bit of a bad track record. I'm just saying. Anyway, Drew's retaining. He's going to murder Dolph Ziggler. This matchup just came out of nowhere for no reason.
What's the match type going to be?
Like I said, I'm hoping it's a cage match. Like I said, just that visual of Drew McIntyre just claymoring Dolph Ziggler kind of like through the cage wall, and then just still winning. Because, yeah, maybe I'm just lethargic and I just want to see Dolph Ziggler just be inflicted so much pain. But I just want to see that. I just want to see Dolph Ziggler get Claymore kicked through the cage wall and still somehow lose. Maybe it's just like he breaks the wall, but his legs still get caught in the ropes.
Kind of like how Owen Hart's foot got caught in the cage at SummerSlam '94.
Ooh. You know, that would
and
be...
they bring out the big blue bar cage just for shits.
That would be amazing. So it would kind of be like like where Big Show tossed Stone Cold Steve Austin into the cage wall, and the cage wall just like, and Austin just dropped. Except Dolph Ziggler can't do it.
That's one of the last times they used that cage for cage matches. Although they did use the interior of that for the Kennel from Hell, but that doesn't exist. I'm going to have a couple of minds here about this. It's going to be a hair versus hair match. Or, no, this would have something else. There's a bit of a wild card going on here, and that happens to be someone who has had a history with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler is going to win the title, and then we are going to get the Otis cash-in. And then Randy Orton's going to beat him on Raw the next night. And it's going to be the Zack Ryder of cash-ins. That's what my twisted mind is coming up with. But in my actual pick is going to be McIntyre winning. But it's going to be kind of like the Edge Ziggler match from Royal Rumble 2011, where the Claymore kick is going to be banned. But how else can Drew McIntyre win? Have we forgot about this move called the Future Shock DDT? So it's gonna be something like that. But then they said there's a couple of different ways. Ziggler was shooting his mouth off, saying, "Oh, this is going to be something that hasn't been done in WWE." And I'm thinking, what hasn't been done? Dear God, don't do a scaffold match. Jim Cornette blowing out both of his knees, falling 20 feet from the Midnight Express. Or it's going to be something completely cinematic and weird, although there is this Facebook post that apparently leaked that it is a Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls match. If you get that reference, shout out to you, TLC.
Oh, now I got you.
Yeah. Which I would not be opposed by, but there is the Otis wildcard, but it's SmackDown. Last I checked, the Money in the Bank match, which was awesome this year, I don't care what anyone says, it involved both Raw and SmackDown superstars, so technically he could go and vie for that title. But I still think we're pushing towards Drew and Randy at SummerSlam, so it kind of puts a kibosh in that. So I think with that Otis wild card, he's going to hang on to that briefcase for a while. I hope they don't Mr. Kennedy edge him with that, or Damian Sandow, John Cena him with that, or those are the only ones I can think of. Otis, my boy.
Otis is amazing. Bottom line, I think that's how we can end the show. Otis is amazing.
Yeah. I did have something, actually.
What's up?
Which I forgot about. It's kind of bringing back the random question of the week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
This has to do with WCW,
okay.
And I'm absolutely stealing this from the Cultaholic podcast. But here's the thing: have you seen the movie Ready to Rumble?
No, it's still on my list.
Oh my gosh! You're aware of the premise and everything, right? And who's in it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so imagine, if you will, that it is announced that they're going to do a remake or a modern version of Ready to Rumble.
Okay.
Who would you have as the wrestler, the superfans, any of the cameos, the company that it's involved with, and the villain? Go.
Okay. Well, now you're putting me on the spot because the fact that I mentioned I didn't watch the Ready to Rumble movie, but I'm going to still give it a shot. As far as the wrestlers go, I would definitely want them to do something different. I would actually choose... you know what? I'm going crazy with this one. I say TNA. I think that's going to be the company. We'll use the wrestlers from there. Give them a little bit more of exposure. As far as the super fans go... that's a good question. Because I'm trying to think of some actors that could definitely kind of, fit the bill and definitely can, do some actual good fighting or something like that. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I think that that one guy from SNL. I'm trying to remember what his name was. He was the guy that he's the guy that usually does like the teacher trials sketches with where basically he's just talking about how it's like a happy day for him and stuff like that. I could see him doing that. Maybe throw in a couple of actual huge wrestling fans, like maybe there's like Channing Tatum. Maybe there's somebody else in there that can definitely put in there. Jonah Hill doesn't do those kind of stuff movies anymore.
That would be the premise for 23 Jump Street.
That would be that would be great. 23 Jump Street Wrestling Edition. That'd be amazing. So that would, yeah. I think the guy from SNL. I can't remember the dude's name. As far as who would play the villain, I mean, it would have to be Vince McMahon, but that's in a perfect world. For like a realistic standpoint, I think Matthew McConaughey would be a really good villain in like wrestling terms. So, yeah, Matthew McConaughey for the villain.
Yeah, I think TNA, like Impact, would be a great place to go. The wrestler, I think if you get a guy like, this is not meant because like the guy that plays I can't think of his name now, but the guy that plays the wrestler in Ready to Rumble, not a wrestler. I mean that was one of their first mistakes. But I can see a guy like. Why don't you base it around a guy like who's Eli? I was going to say Eli Drake, but who was the old guy on NWA Power who was going for Eli Drake?
I don't remember.
Okay, so I'll just because I can't think of his name, I'll just go for Eli Drake. You're super fans. As I say, if you get someone who's actually into wrestling, why don't we get people who like are involved in the wrestling review community? So because they're hilarious, I think like Jay Hunter and Stephen Rowe from OSW Review, although they're not actors, but would be great to have in that. But for actual actors, I think like Seth Rogen and who's a really Jay Baruchel from Jay Baruchel. He was from like Letterkenny. He was from Goon, a bunch of other Canadian stuff. He's in some episodes of Letterkenny. They would be that. Cameos. You'd have to have some legends, maybe people like Sting. I think it would be hilarious to see, John Cena make an appearance of this, because you see John Cena is in the background in the gym working out behind Bill Goldberg in the original movie. The villain, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Ooh, that would be another good one.
Yeah. That was just off the top of my head, because I recently watched that movie again, and it's very Fretz at 16. I'll say that.
Fretz at 16. I can only imagine what that's like.
Scary.
Oh, geez. Spooky stuff. All right, guys, so that has been this crazy and wild edition of the Game Changer Podcast. You can definitely find us on our Twitters. Fretz at The Legendary JF, myself at Real Effin' Game, and definitely check out all of our great people at Wrestle Addict Radio at Addict_Wrestle, where you can check out the Young Lions Perspective, the Kings of the Rings, as well as the Delight Show, which he just released a recent episode. It's definitely worth a listen. Definitely check out our t-shirt merch. And guys, this is one of the things that's, for me, a huge accomplishment. Just a few more downloads away from reaching 5,000 downloads. Definitely want to do something crazy for that, but definitely would love to take some suggestions. Otherwise, I might just do a mixed variations of just crazy stuff throughout the month of August to kind of just make up for it. Make it something very special. I know that there's some people that have remembered I've done punishments, I've done crazy, wild things in the past. Maybe I'll just bring some of that back for everybody's enjoyment and probably for my pain. But we'll see. So definitely be on the lookout for that. So many other great things that are coming up in the forthcoming weeks. I know that I'm in the process of working on a special interview for the next few weeks, but I can't really reveal too much about it yet, so it's going to be on the hush-hush for the time being. Yeah, but honestly, next month it's going to be crazy. I'm just dawning on the fact right now that in about 2 weeks I will be 30. It's really crazy. I know people are just going to say, you're not really that old. It's like, you're still like a baby. Like, I get it, but still, 30 years of my life have already passed. It's insanity.
That's awesome, man. I'm well into my 30s, and I can't say that it doesn't feel like that much time's passed. People mistake me for being in my mid-20s, but I'm actually WrestleMania years old. So it's occasionally it dawns on me, like especially when I look back on some retro wrestling, like for example, what I do on the 20 Bell Salute. Next month is actually pretty loaded. I mean, this July one, I recommend if you go back to our Patreon page and my personal anchor.fm/FRATZLE Mania, you will hear about the fully loaded, pun intended, show of July 2000, because you look at that, and I always try to think about where I am at these points in time. Like, as we go throughout the rest of 2000, there is some actually quite historic moments in my life that take place later in 2000. One of them being my first date and my first relationship, and quite frankly, the only one in my mind that counts. That long story there, but yeah, it's really I can't think of a word like other word than special. When you think, wow, I've been around this long. Holy crap. And when you realize the things in news and culture and even the things around you that have changed in your hometown, makes you think.
It definitely does. I do agree with that. So, guys, we are going to head out. And, oh, geez, I should definitely mention, if you are a member of our Patreon deal, you'll definitely notice that I also have a bit of content that will be there for that. It's going to be my top 10 TNA heel turns. This was honestly a very, very tough list to create, but I did it. I'm proud of it, and it only made sense to do it on the same day as Slammiversary. So definitely check that out, you guys. It's pretty awesome. Also, appreciate the hard work that we put in. If you want to be a part of our Patreon, all you got to do is pay $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 buckaroos just to be a part of that and help us keep wrestling real. So for Mr. Fretz, I've been NateFNGreat. It has been a crazy week, and next week it's only going to get even more crazy as we look into the man that they call Sting. See you guys next week, and just remember, stay safe, be smart, and respect each other. Talk to you guys later.
Whoa!